Well, folks, happy weekend. Happy weekend. Good weekend. What a Friday. I mean, I didn't mean for it to be exactly what we expected. I expected a little bit of variance, but we got exactly, to the T, exactly what we expected. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. The bid into close, the melt through the lunch, the bid into close, NASDAQ to the all time, to the all time. I mean, it doesn't get much better. So I don't know what to say. We kind of placed the bets and we we got basically paid for it. The move is there on the average. It's there, and again, this translates to all of the positions. So even if we go through the mega caps, right? The mega caps are the biggest sort of proponent of this. Look at this fucking candle, right? Taking this trade here, right, and continuing with this here, and understanding that what's to come within this range is this approach again to this all-time high, and also this new risk idea that we've already put on a very big move on on the entire market here from growth coming out of the low here, but continuing even today, not to back down on the idea that we can continue to go bid from here and that we will go past the all-time high. The all-time high here is a pretty, it's just another step, and then we get confirmation of it today. This is such a bullish candle. You do not get this if there's not expectations of much further, right? You If you're going to get some sort of take profit next week, right? It's not coming at the beginning of the week or anything like that, because think about it. If you're buying at a high today, there's somebody, Joe Schmo, bought right here today, right up here, and was pushing this bid across everything, right? So Apple was 2% today. Amazon was 2.15 today. All of this buying at the top. Google, right? There's still people up here. This is almost another percent on Google, right? This kind of shit, this, you don't just accidentally place orders up here, right? So on a mega cap perspective, those continue to push through, and they're catching back up to the all-time high. Apple and Amazon are getting there now, right? There's still a lot of points here, but now that the Nasdaq is at the all-time high, this is almost a given. I would say this is almost a given, and that's what is kind of scary about this moment here, is because now there's new trades to take here, but again, the best trade was to take it when the shit was happening and to bet that this was going to happen, and then in this moment you can bet that there's going to be further. So there was a chance there at close. I was getting pretty busy at the close. I was taking off some of those positions I talked about due to the way the market was working. It was, what I talked about was taking profit today and adding a bit of a transition and putting on new positions, because again, you have April monthlies and things that are expiring that you're going to run out of legs. If you look at the day, there was not a time to do that, and that made it a little difficult. You just have to, you get pushed into close like this, you take the extra points and say thank you, wash your hands, thank you very much, thank you for the extra bid at close, I'll sell to you, right? And so there's a lot of examples of that around the market. That's not really the important part. The important part is, again, the rally that came through here. I mean, it doesn't, that's just fucking what it is, right? That's, I mean, it's really silly. I think in a lot of ways it's kind of silly, the this price action here, because think about it. It's a bunch of antsy people all doing the same thing, where we're trending all day. We've been trending for 2 weeks, right? We've been trending for 2 weeks. And then there's this sort of thing again here going to the weekend. Everyone goes, oh shit, we're still bullish, aren't we? Wait a second. We're actually still, fuck, I can actually still buy Amazon here, can I? And these like sort of things come through, and even big investors, that's how they're going to do it. And this is where that mentality lets us buy on lows. So if we think this is all great, our long positions, we don't need to fucking tell anybody about our long position. We've got the long position idea down, and that's great, right? And we'll make that money over a week, 2 weeks, right? It's these sort of these pullback positions that, again, you're making the points in a very short amount of time. The Dow, just to point out real quick, because this is where some of those pullbacks are, the Dow did the best today out of all indices. The Dow does not put the most points on. The Dow put the most points on today. This play is still absolutely fucking ridiculous, right? It's just ridiculous. So, I mean, we lost a little bit of time here in terms of the way we look at it, but this is not stopped, and this downside move did not hurt anybody. Didn't hurt anybody. And so, again, what the places where we're sort of making the most money into quick points, and now again, I've talked about a lot of charts where we're trending from support to the trend line. These were very similar, but there's so many different components here in terms of what makes these nice trades and bullish. Taking this trade on support yesterday, people brought up in chat. We took this trade, BA as well as an example, and then seeing the open here. This is really, it's one of those things that you just need to know. You either know or you don't know, and this is why I brought it up. This is bullish. This is very bullish to have it whip like this. I have no problem taking the 2% up here and then bringing it back down, right? There's no problem with that. You held up here. This is very good to have from sort of a support buy into where we're now. This volatility that gets added in the fact that it's up 1% on the day. Obviously, you're doing pretty well on these type of positions. BA as well, very similar situation where there's like this, what are we doing here, sort of volatility, and there's different ways to approach it. But coming out of these lows presents a very nice trade. CCL, all of the airlines did very well taking these trades out of the low. It's these kind of trades here that, okay, it's not like the most important thing in the world, but we're not trying to push something for a week here. We're trying to take a trade, so a trade from yesterday, and push it to Monday and go take the profit. And in a lot of circumstances here, make 100% on the trade. So it didn't really matter. And you could have put anything here. And what's kind of nice here is the liquidity, because you can spread this out across the board, right? You can spread it out across the board. Now, things like AAL here didn't do as well, but so I want to compare the airlines a little bit. These are all short-term volatility. That's why we have multiple airlines to go try to figure out exactly what play we want to get involved with. When you start to go around, there's plays that you could have put on for the weekend here that got much cheaper because of the price action today. So I put some of those on coming into the bid close. They're not as impactful, but again, just to show the differences between some of these tickers. The short-term volatility on these is still why we trade them short-term. That's the point. The difference here is that we can go trade these other tickers and keep this macro bullish idea, and that will lead us to be able to take trades and keep pushing the trade. All of this travel shit is such a quick in and out sort of situation. You have to remember when the difference is like that, and when we're talking about these growth tickers that we've been pushing for God knows how long now. Same with the value things, right? Where we buy them and we add new buys, but there's not this short-term volatility that causes us to have to make a decision and get in and out of positions, right? So that's why on those positions we get paid for that short-term, that very quick stint, right? So keep that in mind. The very big difference there. They're just not important, right? They're just not as important. In terms of other things, calm was a big week today. This continued. How you manage this trade here, again, comes down to your own risk. And so whether you keep pushing this or not, or whether this is, I mean, a lot of short-term positions, you probability-wise want to take the profit because it's so quick, and then you put a new position on. But there's not really a right or wrong reason. You would just need to you would need a couple percent next week to make it worthwhile to keep pushing that, of course. So that's that. PAR from yesterday's charts. This is a very nice, straightforward buy. I mentioned it was on support. This is 7% here. This is, I mean, it's not straightforward, but it's straightforward from the sense of we're just going to buy the support. This is a fucking hard trade to make. Yesterday was a 25% day on this chart, and this makes this like the most slap in the face of a trade, where when someone else makes a trade, it looks easy, right? When someone else does something, oh, it's obvious. Well, yeah, that makes sense. But when it's yourself in that situation, it's not that simple, is it? So this is one of those examples of a chart like that. The 15-minute kind of sucks to look at here, but you've got this pullback into support and you just buy it. That was it. Pull into support and buy it. That's it. And this is 7%. So this is after a 25% day. Something like this, when I talk about making trades that other people don't make, everyone made the Apple trade. Everyone made the Amazon trade. Everyone bought the Qs, the SPY, right? They all bought this shit, right? It's this kind of trade right here, or guess what? This is probably my favorite trade. This is probably my favorite trade I had, because it's sort of who is doing that? No one's buying this, right? You you expect so much take profit off this, right? You just expect some take profit when you get this much, because if someone bought down here, don't they want to take profit on this? Who's expecting it to, you know, maybe if it continued, right? Maybe if it continued. But this was really interesting. Again, healthcare did very well. I mentioned UNH on the Dow. This pullback ended. Again, I mentioned the fact that you have to bet long term on these. You can't make short term. Now, of course, we had a really great fucking day on them, and that kind of makes that comment seem like, okay, maybe hindsight capital would say take a short term trade. Uh, okay, I mean, it doesn't change the fact that you're not betting on this move. You're betting on this move to happen, right? And so the fact is that it had a great day, and this is a good start, because that's what when you put another trade on there, you don't want it to sit around for a while. You do want it to launch right off. So those were very good trades. I mentioned retail a shit ton. The FL trade was the most recent chart I posted. We obviously have all the others like GPS. We have WBA, RAD. These sort of different the retail stores as in like clothing and shit, and then the retail stores as in again the pharmaceutical sort of uh, chain drug trains and shit like that, right? So FL was a very nice chart here. This was one that you get a lot of points for because of how messy it was. Very messy. This is one of my other trades that I think no one sees the flag here. This is not, again, it's kind of bullshit to put these kind of things. I even had a chart like last night that it just kind of, you're just kind of, no one's looking at it like that, and you know that no one's looking at it like that, and so there's opportunity there because of that. And again, that's what we look for, are these sort of trades that offer something there that others don't. Otherwise, everything was green. Again, a chimpanzee could have thrown a fucking dart and made money. So keep that in mind, because that's just where we're at. OSTK came off the low. It did break the high here, which I talked about, which is important. It does have this high to break. This sort of trade again would be a long-term trade. There's some there's something that could be warranted for taking a short-term trade here, but there's so much short-term volatility, no one's getting paid for those type of short-term moves. You get paid for how much further it goes and how long it continues that. Not so much betting on one the next day is going to be 10% or something. That's this kind of trade. Uh, that's something to keep in mind when again when the difference between some of these charts. Some of them were betting on speed, some of them were betting on price. This one is definitely a price and direction sort of point because it's so much fucking speed to begin with, right? If something already has speed, you're not betting on speed. You're betting on price, value, and direction at that point, right? I mentioned Dirty Dan. Dirty Dan with the moves here. Auto parts came back. PRTS, for example, as well. Those charts did very well. PRTS here as well has been turning out a low. We talked about PRTS over here. Those were definitely trades you could put on. Yeah, things to keep in mind. I don't think I have to mention that. So again, GPS, these charts here, retail stores, those were important to at least get points if you weren't able to get some, because those were more straightforward trades. The Chewy trade I think was nice. I think JJR mentioned it. Because I have been talking about from this low that we're going to put these trades on. This kind of shit, like with Chewy and Zoom, and then the other COVID winners that we've been trading, they're on different timelines, but they're sort of that second tier of trades. This kind of stuff is a great trade to push over the weekend. And again, we have some other charts that are like this as well, where, okay, it doesn't look like the most here, right? When we look at Netflix as well, it doesn't look like the most here. But this situation is one that you just have to be in if you have some sort of confidence that something might happen, right? It's sitting in the supply. We'll see. Is it going to gap up on Monday, right? As long as it's above this level, it's going to make the move, and it's going to be very hard to get in. So those kind of trades are kind of the ones that I didn't specifically make money on, but I'm going to be pushing over things like Peloton, right? Trying to continue this move here. 7.5% yesterday, -4 today. Trying to continue these moves. Etsy. These are part of the growth trades that have not moved yet, right? This is the second tier. We've made fucking money, and we're in the money on those other trades. We don't need to talk about them anymore. We look at them, great. We get confirmation. It's awesome. These are the newer trades, like taking the Etsy trade here and taking now this move from here to here, right? Those are the moves we're looking for. So again, that's what we'll be looking for into tomorrow. But there's a good start on a lot of those charts there. Quick mention on WBA RAD. I see a question in the chat. One sec. WBA RAD. I took these. I didn't specifically take red. I took WBA here. At the low, we're up a bit. Uh, we'll see what happens next week because again, next week is going to be Gamma Land, and so the squeeze is going to be here if the moves are going. Now, a lot can change because if the market's not continuing to trend and we lose acceleration, these things will not move. And so, something to keep in mind as we go forward. Tesla as well on these tightening. We bet on these to go up with Ford. Ford there as well. I don't know what happened with Neo and shit today. I didn't read any of that. I think someone mentioned something. What did David say? TXN. Let's take a look at TXN. Texas Instruments. Is it a flag? It's if it is one, it hasn't broken out yet, so I couldn't give you an actual answer. It's not a flag, no. It's just it's a very nice trend chart, bullish, very bullish, and it's just in a bit of a pause right there. It looks like a flag, yeah, but it's not really a flag. uh it's got the it's got this trend line and the trend line here, sure, but it's not really anything yet. So it's bullish though, right? It's bullish though. It looks very much like the rest of the Dow tickers, right? Looks very much like the Dow tickers. When you look through the Dow tickers, besides Honeywell today having an awesome fucking day, by the way, this right here was great. That's such a to gap up this much and then this move, oof, the Dow did very well for a reason. UNH CRM, Salesforce here, I mean, insane. I mean, really continuing this trade here. You bet on the Dow play. You're betting that this shithole is going to get out of its shithole. This is getting out of its own way. This is a great move there. Apple, INTC, semiconductors, obviously, we've been putting a lot of trade into. INTC did very well today, continuing. And this is where I talk about being able to hold this position and you cannot let yourself look at the intraday on these charts because you will get pushed out of this trade, right? You're gonna get pushed out of it, and you're actually gaining every day though. So that kind of trade looked very good, but yeah, again, like HD stuff. Was this a flag? Like, so right. But when we get these again, that's just price being bullish, and price will make moves like that. Price pulls back. As long as it's within a trend, it's still bullish until proven otherwise, right? So you buy on pullbacks. That's the whole name of the game. Is if the market's coming into a breakout and moving, then you're betting on it. Right? The other thing was banks continue to do well today because again they're fucking banks and this is their time. This is their moment. They continue to do well. The one other bet I put on was not specifically XLE, but XOP and Gush. And I put an oil bet for Monday that we're going to be up on Monday. So we'll see how this does because it's basically on a thread. It's right where we were. And I'm betting I have 69 to 70s April monthlies. So on Gush and then XOP, it's obviously more conservative. It's not as leveraged, but it's the same idea, right? Same idea up to the 80. So those are interesting bets. Yeah, let me take a look at profit section. But this was an awesome fucking week, guys. I mean, this week was obviously, I think, a great week. And even if you didn't make money, I think what you should at least get out of this week, again, you should always learn something. You should be able to learn some confidence out of this week because there's a lot of things that I've done in the last 2 weeks that they're kind of like, are we sure about this? And then as they start to happen, that's when you need to start to realize that okay, fuck, this is actually all sort of actually happening. And so when the plan is actually working, that's when you need to fucking push the gas pedal down and start to actually take advantage of it because it's your plan is happening. So if you're the one that has the plan, you're the one that needs to execute it and actually make it fucking work, right? And so again, when you start to see this stuff, you have to be willing to go take that risk to continue to make what your plan is work, right? I can put some ridiculous targets on things, but guess what? If that plan is working, you're in position to go make that money and you got to go take it, right? A lot of fucking empty lunch pails today around the market from people selling all week and last week, right? That we keep buying. You just keep taking it. C Trader, 684. Awesome day, buddy. Spoon with the all the percent yesterday. He's got the minus 0.5%. Some longs took a hit, took some profits to take some short-term weekend bets for the weekend. FBA, gosh, those sound fun. I mean, he said a lot of a percent yesterday, so he lost not even 1% today. I think he'll be all right. Not going to cry for him. Ecto says bullish on TXN due to fundamentals behind their TI-84 timeless. Yeah, I got a TI-84 right next to me right now. Graphing calculator out of my mind over here. What was I have one more thing I want to say for the weekend. I mean, this was a very strong week, and again, it's not that since it's going up, it's good. Like, yay, market's up. It's how you attack it, right? It's how you maneuver it. It's again, when we look back on it, now we're in hindsight. Now we can look back and see what we could have done. We were very adamant about holding through these takebacks, and we were really in a situation where we didn't expect take profit to come in. I said that almost every day. Almost all the time I'm saying you're going to get take profit. And I wasn't expecting to take profit due to the way we had price action. We didn't get that. And so with that, what you're able to do is every open, you're not in a situation where you're watching intraday and getting pushed out of positions. That was such an important thing this week because look where we finished, right? Look how we started the week here. If you were taking profit, you actually missed the majority of the move here. You actually missed a majority, and this is, again, it's not this average here. This is where you start to look at those very basic normal, these normie positions. You took profit on Monday, you just missed 7.5% on Apple. You took profit somewhere in that day, you took profit when this pulled back here. You just missed 6.5% in 3 days on a normie trade like Apple. What is that 6.5% for 3 days of here? Or if it was from here, or if you bought when we all bought, you're talking about 100%. 100% on a trade that you can fill any amount of liquidity you want on. There is no cap to how much liquidity you can get and how much you can get filled on. What about others, right? Amazon, you could have waited to take the trade right here. But the problem is if you don't stay in this trade, right? Different ways in which taking this trade is difficult because the move already happened, right? It's being able to operate in these times during this week where you keep being aggressive and take that. There's no way to know to do that. It's like someone that plays poker that always goes all in. They'll win sometimes, but once someone actually has a fucking hand, they're going to lose it all immediately, right? That's not what we do. We pick and choose when to be doing these different styles, and there's different times when things call for different rules, and we break rules, and we're going to make trades. And this week we changed it up from the preemptive trading, but what we did was we just fucking ignored everything. We got out of our own way. We either let positions push or we just kept buying new ones. And we didn't let some sort of anxiety. We knew the market would have anxiety. And there were times when the market stayed flat. Continuing to buy proved to be the best thing you could do this week, if we look in hindsight, was to keep buying. And it's whether you did that or not, it doesn't matter, right? That doesn't matter. And whether the market went up or not, it doesn't matter. But that's what was the best thing. And we saw that in that moment. And so that's where it's important to look back and say, okay, in that moment, that's why we fucking did that. And because that's where, with that decision, making that trade in that moment, you need to think what exactly is going to come, be coming thereafter and how people are going to react. This is where understanding that from starting this week, that if these mega caps, we understood that the week started. Remember, we started with low volume. We actually started with really low volume on the week. When you look at, we actually started really low volume. We weren't doing anything for the first 3 days. Why? Because it was getting sucked up by mega caps. And that's something that changes the landscape. And that was such an important thing that you're not going to learn some fucking moron on Wall Street Bets or something, right? Or watching Twitter news and all this stuff, right? It's understanding what exactly is happening in the moment and what that means of how that's basically just sort of sucking the lake up. And then that's going to come into the fucking clouds of fucking cash rain, right? That's literally what happened, is that it sucked up all of the volume, but it was going to spit it back out. And when it did so, it was going to cause this move to happen and propel everything together, which is how we knew to buy on pullbacks and how we knew to be aggressive, because we knew the volume would come back. If we don't have that plan and understand that process, you have a situation where you're actually selling at lows and then buying at the highs to chase. That's what almost everyone did. Why? How do we know? Because that's what the price action is. That's literally what all this is here. Is that someone is selling, they're selling and selling, and then they're buying. That's all this is here. And a lot of candles look like that. That's why the average, you can always just sort of, that makes up the market because we can see what everyone did, right? Best example is the fucking Dow. Look at this. No one did everything, and then guess what? They sold everything, and then they bought. This is a big buy day for the Dow. I know the candles suck, but so again, being able to handle that in the moment. I just want to make a quick comment because I already mentioned these, but again, this is where a majority of the money was made this week. And if you didn't get these, then you need to. This is where you need to study the charts or something, or do something. Or if you want to make money, then start to do it. This is where you made the money this week on these short-term plays. This is where you make your 100% in 1 week. You're not doing anything fancy. You're trading between levels. It doesn't always happen. That's not the point. You can make 100 of these trades, and again, only 30% of them need to work, and you're going to make a shit ton of money, right? This trade from here to here is it 15%. That's over 100%. I promise you. You're not going to find options that are not. I promise you. You can go look. You try to find me some options that didn't make 100% there, and then I'll ask you, would you ever buy those? And you would say, no, of course not. Yeah, you're gonna buy 195 calls over here. Sure. So yeah, June 195, sure. Right. So it's these trades here that we traded between these levels that did really damn well. And whether they made it all the way or not, you were actually able to then make a decision with this new information, which is, well, shit, things are looking pretty damn good. We'll push it further. But it's these trades that these are the ones that pay and will continue to pay forward. But they give you an option. It's just like an option. You can execute it if you want, exercise it if you want. It's in these situations where you're able to make the decision to push it over the weekend or not. And that's such a powerful thing to have because you can take this profit. You can absolutely take the profit here today. And there's plenty that I took profit on going into the weekend, especially towards the close when we started to get pretty bid and take those trades. Those are the trades you want to be a part of, and those are all technical. There's nothing at all that's happening besides technical trading in those areas when you look at those charts. There is nothing else happening here. There's literally nothing else. It's trading from support to resistance, and then that's your trade. You're done. You're done. We'll take another trade next week if it goes into the channel. That's it. I'm out of the trade. On Monday, it comes up here. I'll buy it. Great. That's it. That was it. 100%. Am I going to be sad about that? No, that's what I fucking came here for and what I worked so hard for. Make this money right here. You go put 5 grand here, you just walked away with 10 grand. Not that hard. It's really fucking hard, but it's easier than the other ones. It's easier than trying to go on Twitter and trade Twitter through itself. All these dumb ideas, right? It's a lot easier if this lines up and that's the plan. It doesn't even matter if this is the true reason why it's moving or not, does it? Because at least you're putting yourself in boundaries and making rules for yourself. Whether this is the reason why it bounces, whether this is the reason why it gets rejected, these could be phony fucking lines and I could have pulled them out of my ass and they may not even be real. But the fact is that if you follow it every time and you stick with that, then you'll make your decisions based on only that, and you're restricting your possibilities of fucking yourself, right? And you're actually putting your best foot forward, and you're always in the right lane at the right time, and you're not using emotion, you're not using biases, nothing. You're just reacting to some lines on a chart, and that's it. And that's all you do. And there's my 100%. Got about 30 or 40 of those trades this week. 30 or 40 of them. I mean, like multiple on each of the charts per position. So maybe like 12 charts or so. And we had those. And we had a lot of those. And we have a lot of them pushing over. Not to mention those. So again, I think there's so much to learn from those charts from the last week since 25th. I'm going to do a lot of looking over the weekend because everything since the 25th here and a little bit before that, those charts are fucking phenomenal. I don't mean as in my lines or something. I mean in terms of the way in which these have moved. This price action was like a dream to catch, and we need to figure out, we bought everything here and we need to make sure we do that again and also know what it means in terms of a flow. I think today we had the right idea. I could have came in today and said we're going to take profit on everything. That's most people did do that, but how we knew to say, okay, we're going to keep pushing the fucking pedal down and that we're going to go further bid and keep buying. That's something we need to really think about this weekend. And I think you guys should all think about this weekend. And I talked about this. If you don't think this is going to be up Monday, you should not be in the position. If you don't think this is going to be up Tuesday, you'll be out Monday, right? There is a point here where you need to do that. And it all stems from back here. It all comes from back here because all these charts did the same thing. And so I'm going to see, we'll think about it for Monday. But we're in a great spot in terms of the market increasing now. Again, it doesn't matter if it's up or down, but we make our money when we have the chance to. The money's been on the table. We've taken it. There's some things that we weren't able to get. It's always going to be like that. It's not going to be perfect. There's fucking plenty of positions I bought at lows that continue to go down. They just kept going down, right? I tried to buy X earlier today. It kept going down. I had to buy it at the very low. Is that going to go up? I have no idea. I have no clue. But most of the time when I do it, it works. So I'll just keep doing it, right? In SID was up, CLF was up. This shit was up. Why won't X be up? I bet it will be. So those kind of things again. This is where we are. I mean, this is again where I just want to, last comment. We'll get out of here. I hope you guys all enjoy your weekend. When this market is doing this here, you need to be able to see this. You need to be able to see this. You need to be able to see something like this. You need to be able to see some price going like this. You just need to have a plan for here. And when you're buying things here, it needs to be able to operate in this space. And that's what the difference is here is some people, when they bought here, they weren't betting on this. They were betting on something like, maybe come out of here, maybe go back into the summer or something will come up. You have to be able to know when to be aggressive and bet, okay, we're gonna get this all right now. And we're gonna get to all-time high right now. NASDAQ's going to get to all-time high right now. When people were betting on growth down here, this is the question for the weekend. When people were buying down here, were they betting that growth was going to go to all-time high in 2 weeks? Unlikely. Unlikely. So that's why the momentum is picking up now, right? So how much more is there left? Because not everyone got involved, obviously. There's gaps involved. There's not much intraday. So there's some questions still of how much is here and how much further are we going to go? Is it all week we're going to trend up? There's questions to be answered, right? So that's what we're coming in on Monday for is how far does this continue? And we're not going to cuck ourselves and say, well, price needs to pull back. Of course it needs to pull back, but it doesn't have to be rational all the time. It can be irrational longer than you can be rational. So we're not going to go, it's crazy. We're going to go, it'd be crazy not to be in. And so that's where we're in. We're going to keep going until it's done. We'll see what it does. Asia was still betting on Asia comeback. Plenty of Chinese tickers looking good. And Hang Seng is fucking in the middle of nowhere. So if this goes up, we are up. So it's going to be a lot of fun, guys. This week was awesome. I had a lot of fun. I think, again, those of you picked up the work, picked up your pace in terms of what you did for work and looked at charts. And I think a lot of you guys got paid off for it. And then the important part here is remember, is that when the market's going up, anybody can make money, okay? Remember that. It's important because we pick out individual tickers and pick out where to trade it. But guess what? You could basically buy anything. And as long as you get out of it, you took the money home, right? Now, there's certain situations where we made more money in certain areas, for sure, because that's what the work is for. But it's important to know that when the market's going up, as long as you're putting money in, you're making money. And so really what it is just knowing to put your money in and be confident with that and to keep pushing it, right? And so that's where the rules that we have sort of set us up for those, so that like when Mobsky asked yesterday, it's like, well, what about when the market's going to pull back? How do we know? We don't get to know. We just react the same way all the time. So we get a reversal candle, some sort of short-term pattern, we'll exit the trade. And then we keep looking for the new entry. And if it never comes, it never comes. We don't get into it, right? And we start to change our bias, right? This is where how we operate. So again, it's very easy to see the markets up and to be like, well, duh, of course you made money. Everyone made money. I would like to think we probably made a little bit more and handled the market a little bit more because we got in fucking early and we continue to push through the week into the weekend here. So keep those ideas in mind though of when the market's doing well, and always critique yourself against the average. Did you beat the S&P? If you didn't beat the S&P, then you got to learn faster. you have to at least be faster than your learning curve. Your learning curve needs to be faster than the S&P, right? something like that. So keep that in mind. Maybe think about that because I've been saying that a lot, but I think it's important to know because yes, it takes a long time to learn how to do this, and you're trying to get practice to be able to get the points in the future, right? You're basically learning. It might be losing money now or something, or break even now to be able to make a lot more money in the future. As long as you know that's possible, that's great. But there is a point where it's like, all right, I'm fucking old. I am not learning anything new. It's not gonna happen. Uh, keep it in mind. But awesome, everyone did an awesome job this week. So just celebrate your trade. That's all. Awesome stuff. Um, enjoy your weekends. Acto says good luck with the Doja Cat meeting. He already left, but it was very kind. Very kind. Enjoy your weekend, guys. I'll see you Monday.